gentlemen, the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag, United States of America, republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, justice for all.
First, we have 3 approval of minutes, one of which we've been trying to dispose of for a while. The first is 7/23/2019.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, I think I can, right? Yes, to approve the minutes for July 23rd, 2019.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
401.
No.
3-2.
Abstain.
302.
I need to abstain, yes.
3 and 2.
Me too. I just
Okay,
abstained.
so 302. The next is 9/24/2019. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Libby
Wait,
wasn't
wait,
here.
wait,
Second,
wait.
I second.
You were not here, you can't
9/24.
second.
Here we go, okay.
For September 24th?
Then I can't.
Okay, so we have a second here.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
So 302.
302.
302.
302. And then 10/22,
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
So 401.
Got it.
That was exhausting.
Citizens' time, is there anybody here who's not on the agenda who would like to address the board? Okay.
Mr. Chair, in lieu of citizens' time, may I make a brief comment?
Sure.
As our town is well aware, there was a recent tragic accident at Buffalo Wild Wings in our town. The Board of Health was there. But I wanted to, on behalf of the board, extend our deepest condolences to the family of Ryan Baldera, who unfortunately died as a result of this accident, and wish our best to his family and to all the employees of Buffalo Wild Wings. And if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, can we have a few moments of silence?
That'd be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chairman's report. Last week, we started the week with a very quiet, of course, some very quiet time, and then, as you know, it turned out to be quite busy. On November the 7th, we did have a situation at Buffalo Wild Wings. Our Director of Public Health was there, and I want to thank her very much. I know you were there very early, very late. I called you, and you were still there late in the evening, and I want to thank you very much. And again, thank you, condolences to the Baldera family. That evening, however, we also had another situation, and I'd like to talk to the group about this. As you remember, this board supported the planning board in their request to become a platinum community for biotechnology. During my presentations, mostly many times on camera, we admitted that there were a couple of sites that a biotech company could move in without Board of Health approval. But they were no concern because they were established hotels, one of which the Marriott. Last week, we found that there were hearings that would change the zoning of 3 major buildings to IH and allow biotech. They're all office buildings, and that's fine because a change of use would have to be presented to this board to allow a biotech to come into town. Now, however, we found a loophole. If the first biotech company moved out or went out of business, another biotech, one that we may not want in town, could move in without Board of Health approval, because the site was already approved for a change in use. I spoke against the rezoning, and accompanying me to assist and to also speak was our director, Susan Luminello. I have two choices that we could consider. A change in the zoning bylaw, which is not within our purview, or develop and pass a Board of Health regulation that would require all biotechnology companies who come to Burlington to be reviewed by the Board of Health, and that would be a regulation. I think the latter. I also would like this board at some point to support and acknowledge that I spoke for the Board of Health as chairman. We had no time to call anybody because we found out that day that it was a hearing going on. So two things. I'd like to put this off until discussion unless a board member wants to consider a discussion now, but I want to at least get some type of a vote that the board was in support of my dialogue and in my testimony. So I'll leave it at that as my, yes,
I'm trying to understand what you just said. So, the planning board is considering rezoning sites for biotech. So what happens if a biotech goes in? Biotech, the Board of Health would say, okay, that sounds fine. But then that biotech leaves, and another biotech wants to take its place, and that biotech may have different level of, biosafety, the level 1, level 2. So let's say a level 1 leaves and a level 2, we've never had a level 3, a level 2 comes in. Are you saying that with the way things are now, the Board of Health would not have any say or jurisdiction over that second company
That's-
coming in?
or the third, or fourth, or
So-
fifth, or
so
sixth,
in
or
perpetu-
seventh?
Okay, so, I don't think that's right, at all. So I definitely think, I would be so bold right now, I welcome obviously we welcome discussion, but I'd be so bold to make a motion that we have a formal discussion as a board in the future to discuss, adjusting our regulations to accommodate for this potential.
I second that.
So
If that makes any sense.
we can discuss it tonight, later on, in discussion. I think we can, in a discussion. Since I brought it up in the, or do we have to put this off?
Yeah, I think we would need, yes, we need to put it on an agenda.
Put it on the agenda?
So,
So-
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you made a statement in there that you found out, like you attended on our behalf, but with late notice. So Susan, when there's those notifications, those meetings, those are public, they're posted, correct?
Yeah, they
But do
post,
they do for the impacted other boards, is there notifications? I mean, isn't that a requirement as well?
It's not a requirement.
It's not?
It's more
Just
of a
courtesy.
courtesy. Yeah, so we found out about it Thursday morning, the day.
Thought it
of
was
the
a
meeting.
requirement, because
That's when I found out.
And I did speak to them, and he said it was an oversight, but still, I sent you the,
Thank you.
I sent you the announcement, and I sent you some briefing from our environmental engineer who assisted in catching this, and thank you very much.
I mean, the Board of Health has a wonderful relationship with the community. We have a wonderful relationship with biotech. Christine has set up some great protocols. We have committees, we have a town representative. Why would we not want to be involved in anybody who comes in? If anything, to extend a hand, but also to say, hey, we are overseeing to make sure that our community is safe each time somebody comes in, regardless.
If you watched my testimony, along with our directors. As I said, I believe in biotech, and I think it needs to come to Burlington. But I am committed, and I've taken an oath to ensure the safety of this community and its citizens. And it was something of that sort, I think I closed with, I'll ask the director, was something of that sort I closed with, and I feel the same way. The only reason, and I'll reiterate this, that we would be able to look at the first company is because it was a change of use. If they left and a second company would come into this community, the use has already been changed to biotech.
I mean, it almost, you know, I'd liken this to the fact that we have a restaurant that opens in town and is doing well or serving the community well, comes in front of the board and gets the appropriate permits, and then shuts down and leaves, and another restaurant comes in and they don't get any permits, so they don't have to follow the safety standards that we set for the town. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
That's right.
you know?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so just as a clarification too, so it isn't that way now. It would be if this rezoning occurs for the LH
Right,
areas
sure.
or IH?
IH, yes.
IH areas, so there's certain areas that were named that would be IH, and that would allow biotech by right. So in those areas, yes, if it was office use and they wanted to put a biotech, they'd have to come before the planning board and get a change in use. But after that, like
Yeah,
Dr.
but what
Warner
happens,
said,
what
if another
happens
company-
during that time, a daycare moves into that facility, and then there's a biotech, we might not want a biotech, you know, a level 2 next to a daycare facility, or a restaurant moves into that building, right? I mean, which is quite feasible,
We have
right?
regulation.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
We
is
have to modify
I'm not
it.
against it.
It's a change
I'm
of
not,
use
I
thing.
understand the thought process, but it should be somehow monitored for safety for the
Right.
town, yeah.
So this has come before you, so you happen to hear about this. I think we should be proactive regardless of the fact that there isn't, we understand what's, might be happening. I think we should be proactive.
I would agree.
In discussion.
Does this have to go in front of town meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
The issue for me is that we have to be proactive here. As one of the consultants has said, biotech companies come and go. And one could come in, leave in 3 months, and a second of higher safety status could come in, and we would have absolutely no oversight of that company. Now, it's not going to happen tomorrow. These are not passed, have not been passed by the planning board or have been passed by town meeting. However, it may happen. Zonings take place, change in zonings take place all the time. So we have to therefore, in my opinion, and put it on a different meeting to discuss what we're going to do.
You got a motion and a second?
Yep.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. 5-0. And I'm going to assume then with that motion that you acknowledge my presence at that November 7th meeting and you support what I said, and what we said. I'm gonna, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, so you'd like to put this on discussion for an
Our next
upcoming-
our next meeting.
Okay. Between now and then, did you want us to start looking at biotech regulations? And if so, can we have a subcommittee that we
I
can,
think that's a wise idea.
yeah?
I'd be happy.
Should we also merit talking with town council about too? Or no? Or it's a premature?
After they're drafted, yeah, definitely would need to go to town council. And we need to kind of look and see who has them. It's not too many. I think Cambridge and maybe Lexington, not a whole lot.
Do we have enough information currently?
That discussion.
Right, to have those discussions?
Well, at the next meeting, probably not.
Right.
You know, maybe we should meet with the subcommittee, look
Right.
at the
Yeah, I
regulations,
agree with
and then
that.
bring it for discussion.
I like that idea
So-
better, yeah.
So put it forward for December?
I
Or-
don't
or
think that that's
January?
enough time.
So January?
I'm thinking within the next year, you know.
Since this isn't
beginning
gonna
of
happen
year.
in next
Yeah, I
year
think they'll let the
Yeah.
subcommittee
Well, let me
understand when they're
just
finished.
Yeah.
talk about that. The town meeting takes place in January. Do we want to have a regulation in place for that town meeting?
Why, is this gonna come up?
Is this
in
gonna
front of
come up
town meeting in
then?
January?
Yes.
It is?
I don't know if
Then
that
we need-
matters, but I think it shows some,
I think it matters insofar as if we don't have one, when that gets approved,
But-
we're
but-
dead in the water.
Yeah, but at least we'd be able to walk up and we'd be able to say.
I agree with that, it
you
shows
know,
the optics of it.
We are doing our due
No, I agree.
diligence, we could, you could tell the town,
Right.
we're doing our due diligence.
We have some drafts.
Right.
In regulations and understanding,
We could talk about how we wanted
Process.
to handle that at that time.
Yeah, don't forget that if it gets passed, once they pass it, anybody that wants to come in and change, still has to come in front of us, it's for future.
It's for the future.
Right.
But it would be nice if we
I
had
agree.
something close to being in
Don't
in
disregard.
effect.
Sure.
We can try
Yeah.
with the subcommittee, whoever's gonna be on the subcommittee.
I would like to be on the subcommittee because I'm sort of the one who did all of the research and speaking on it, and it's my background and my rear end on the line here, because, and if there's any, I'd like,
I'll be on the subcommittee because if your Ren's online, I'm a physician. I need to make sure that
Fix it.
you're able to,
That's a great
maintain
subcommittee,
posture.
I support that subcommittee.
so I appreciate that. All right, we have a subcommittee to talk about this. And that was my chairman's report, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Are there
Thank
any
you.
subcommittee reports? I don't believe we have any. Discussion, plumbing variance recommendation. That's you. Please come up. We have someone to sign in.
I know it, I have his name. I know.
You have his name. Please state your name.
It's Rosario Ferrante.
Thank you very much. Do you want to present?
Yes, so Mr. Ferranti is here to request a plumbing variance for some products, some unapproved fixtures. They're not on the Massachusetts approved list. They include shower valves, shower trim, and tub fillers. They are approved for use in the United States, they're just not on the Massachusetts list. So I recommend that the board offer no objection to the request for a variance.
You're not alone in this occurrence here.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 30-plus years, the first time I ever heard about it. This mass-approved list, that is. It's interesting, for information, like, once I learned about it, I searched even Lowe's. So you could walk into Lowe's, buy a shower valve, come home, and it's not approved to be here in
Amazing.
Massachusetts,
Is that the case? Is that?
No,
the case?
these we
Oh,
bought
okay.
online,
Oh,
which,
okay, all right.
this is probably more and more now because of everything being online.
Sure,
right? The
yeah.
years of going to, FW Web and Splash are kind of over, right? Everybody's online these days. But in the search, I'm like, let me just check out Lowe's, and you can literally buy products in Lowe's that are not on the mass list.
I have no objection. I don't know. Yes,
I have no objection, but I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Ferrante understands, we don't say yea or nay. We
Yeah,
just-
it goes to the
Our,
standards.
our job is to make sure that whatever you bought does not affect the health of our community.
Yep.
So, the hardship stuff that you had written about, that doesn't fall under our purview. So that's something to bring up with the plumbing inspector or whomever, if and when. So we're mostly concerned about just making sure that there's no issue with our community's public health. And we know, you're not setting precedent, we've done this a number of times. So, are his fixtures affecting the health of our community?
No.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we vote to offer no objection to the request for a variance for 274 North Road.
I'll second.
we have a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500. Thank you so much.
So the North Road is our home office address? The house is a different address, just to, the
I
plumbing fixtures.
apologize, 9 Sullivan Street,
Okay.
Burlington.
Just want to be clear.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And
I looked at that twice myself, yeah. But I thought, well, if the
You have
director
your
put it
letter
there, it
already.
must need to be there.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under discussion, we have one of our Board of Health interns, Matt Davis, is going to come forward and present to us the work that he has been working on. And please introduce your mentor.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, my mentor behind me, this is Kathy Tracy, who was actually just going to mention even just in my presentation, but I'll do now. Kathy Tracy is my clinical instructor at Northeastern University, who's been helping to do a lot of coordination, especially with scheduling on a weekly basis, and also doing all the fun stuff like grading and all of that. So I definitely appreciate all of her help that she's done. Yeah, absolutely. And so,
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure you know how appreciative we really are that you allowed us to be here today. Thank you, Sue and Chris especially, for making this opportunity possible.
Mr. Davis, you are a nursing student
correct,
at Northeastern University.
correct.
Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And so I actually just wanted to extend my thanks again to all of you for having me out here this evening. So again, my name is Matt Davis, and I'm a Northeastern fourth semester nursing student. I'm in part of the accelerated program, so I'm going to be finishing up here in about like a month or so, which is both scary and exciting at the same time. I don't know if someone mentioned earlier, but Julie Bernard was another, or is another student that has been with me since the beginning of September, and unfortunately she cannot be here this evening because of illness. But nonetheless, I wanted to share with you guys just a couple of things, mostly of just my experiences that I've had, some of the things that I've learned. And thank you again for Chris for getting this presentation up here, if you guys can see that okay. But just a little bit more context is that, so that you guys know a little bit more about me, why I'm here, what I'm doing, why I'm speaking, is that as a student, I'm also taking a public health course. And in fact, the Board of Health, this is the first time that you guys have decided to take on students, so I'm very appreciative for that. And then hopefully I can also be a good role model for you guys to continue to onboard new students in the future. I want to take this opportunity just to thank a couple of other key members. I know I introduced Kathy here and thanked her for all of her help, but I also wanted to mention of course, Susan Luminello, I want to make sure I get your last name right there, who's the director. Luminello, close. So as many of us know, she is the director at the Board of Health, and she's kind of the one pulling a lot of the strings behind the curtains, and so none of what we've been doing would have been possible without her, so thank you. And then of course, Chris Pollock, who is the registered nurse over at the the Burlington Board of Health. And I don't even really know what to say, because honestly, everything that we've been doing has just been surrounded by you. Everything that we've been doing would not have been feasible, if not possible, if not for you. And so she's a very busy individual, like I know most of you are, but still was able to take us under her wing and show us a lot of the ropes. So I'm not going to bore you guys too much with some of the objectives surrounding my course, but I do feel that it's relevant to kind of share some of those with you. So in a nutshell, there are three. My public health course, is that me that's making that popping noise?
Yeah, you can just move it back.
Oh, okay. Apologize. So the three areas or three objectives that my course focuses on are a level of prevention, which is, as we probably know, primary, secondary, and tertiary, which we all have an impact here, and my experiences have reflected that. The social determinants of health, which for those that are watching, are just going to be like sort of your lifestyle things, the components to your everyday life that you may not think influence or impact your health, but they do. They include things like where you live, what you eat, where you go, where you work, where the environment around your work, etc. And then last one is just the major health disparities, which is just largely speaking to the statistics, and numbers surrounding major subgroups within our community. And so, all of that being said, we started in September, which is like with an orientation, which was great for introduction, but we also got pretty good grounding for the demographics and population surrounding Burlington. And don't ask me too many specific questions of that, because it's going to be pretty difficult to regurgitate. But nonetheless provided a solid foundation for what it is that we're going to be working with, because in public health, we're looking at the community rather than in just traditional nursing where we're just focusing on just the patient. Go ahead and switch to the next slide here. So, as previously mentioned, Julie and I have been working predominantly with Chris, who again is a very busy person, but we did get a chance to get exposed to like her work and her environment and the things that she does on a daily basis. One thing is that she checks on Maven, which for any of us that are unfamiliar with that, Maven is an online platform that healthcare professionals and providers can actually look at and track a lot of communicable diseases within a specified area. So in other words here. And within the past couple of months, she's been working with an individual that has been treated for active tuberculosis and frequently performed direct observation therapy, which we call DOT, to not only monitor this individual, but also administer medications and ensure patient compliance, which anybody that works in healthcare will know that can be a tricky thing to do. So it was a very fascinating thing to see. Here I have on our next slide, which is the Matter of Balance course and blood pressure screenings. Throughout the duration of the semester, Julie and I have been able to participate in a few different resources that the Board of Health offers. I believe it's the first Tuesday and last Wednesday, if I have that correct, we conduct blood pressure screenings.
First Tuesday,
First Tuesday.
in the last of the month. is
Got
the
it.
COA.
Thank you. And which has been really great because then we have about, I'd say, 6 to 10 members that come on in, members of the community that are able to just have essentially their blood pressure checked. And as we know, and it's not just an issue that is limited within the constraints of Burlington, but it's a national issue, is just cardiac issues, hypertension. And so having members come on in to monitor their blood pressure and then discuss strategies to help lower that has been an absolute pleasure. And it's great to see people come on in too and take an initiative. Because it's like I said, it's a very widespread issue that not many people are always cognizantly aware of. And the Matter of Balance class, this is a class that we've been attending. I believe it was a 12-week course. However, we were only there for just a few, but nonetheless, we got exposed to many different things. We had about 15 active members here, which you can kind of see in the picture. Oh, there we are. We're actually in the front there, Julie and I. But it's tailored towards older populations or older audiences, and the main objective here is fall prevention, which is getting progressively worse, especially as we face issues like osteoporosis, which is becoming more widespread in our older adult populations. What's really cool about this is that it has a component where it introduces physical exercises, so like I kind of equate it to yoga. That helps to promote flexibility, strength, and then, of course, balance in order to assess and prevent falls from happening. And then we also talk about ways to make the home setting safer so that we can also prevent that. Go to the next slide here. Additionally, another highlight that we've been doing is that Julie and I participated in what was called the Emergency Dispensing Site Drill, which many members of our community played a part in. This operated similar to a flu clinic, but essentially enabled participants to simulate an emergency protocols for possible disease outbreaks, in which if we have available vaccinations, we can provide treatment for. So to kind of put that in a little bit of a different light and speak some English here, should an outbreak occur within Burlington, this would, in essence, serve as sort of an emergency simulation so that we would be able to respond in kind to that emergency. Only in this case, we were providing flu vaccinations instead of something much more serious, but flu can be serious, so for any of those watching, please get your flu vaccinations. So this was great. I think what I really enjoyed about this most was just the sheer volume of people that were coming on in. I know that can be a little chaotic, but Chris did a great job helping to facilitate that, Susan as well. And it was just great. It was really, really cool experience. I got to work with a lot more with working on intramuscular injections. So as a beginning nurse, that's always key. And then I'll just go ahead to the next slide here. And then this is by far my favorite. This one is addressing kind of a more, I'd say, recent issue within the past decade of our country, and this is a educational program called Stop the Bleed, which I underwent like a course, went through training with Chris, and then was able to provide an orientation or seminar, if you will, to about 16 members within the Department of Public Works, just right here in Burlington. And what this is, without getting too carried away, this is actually kind of a response to a lot of the gun violence that we've been having to deal with. It originally started out as a sort of, not solution, but again, a response to combat some of the life-threatening hemorrhages that might surround, again, gun violence. But this started as a result from I believe it was Sandy Hook, which I think was 2012, school shooting in elementary, which was very unfortunate. And since then, we've actually been experiencing a lot of others. Boston Marathon right here in our own area, Las Vegas shooting. So this was an absolute treat, and working with the DPW was great. As you can see here in our photo, we had like 2 portions, and the second portion of our presentation was kind of more hands-on, working with mannequins and learning just to try to simulate what it would be like if you're helping somebody who is in need to stop that bleeding and get them off to emergency services. So those were sort of the major highlights. Some of the other, I guess you could say, side things that we've kind of done is that we've also worked on poster boards, which if you're going through the office and you see those poster boards out in the hallway, that, you know, every month we put out something new, try to make it relevant for our audiences that come through. And then we've also, I believe Julie was not a part of this, but I was able to partake in a pediatric flu vaccination training session. So in order to administer various vaccinations for pediatric populations. So it's a little bit different than adult, but and that really kind of covers it. I really do thank you guys for your time and attention. And before I sign off, I wanted to see if there were any questions at all that you guys had for me.
What do you think about public health?
I think it's excellent. Honestly, I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I came in here, because a lot of our educational and didactic portions of our courses have been focused so much on just the individual and in inpatient settings. And it's given very little thought to public health, which was why I thought it was so nice that they incorporated this into the curriculum. I definitely could see it as a possibility for me to explore. For that being said, I think that for myself, I'm going to have to ground myself. I'm a little bit more confident, maybe working like in a med-surg unit or something like that before I move into something like public health. But Chris has done such a great job exposing what it is that you do, the important things that you do on a daily basis. And so it's just fascinating, and I really appreciate it.
Please.
I think one thing to add too is, and you could tell from your presentation, is that Chris's background, not only as a nurse, but as an educator, that was probably very helpful too, because it was like, you're not just training as a nurse, but you've also been in the school setting. So I think that's great that you're on our staff, and I'm sure that has been extremely helpful for both the interns.
Absolutely, no, it really shows. Really able to explain things thoroughly and just in a way that we can understand very well. So
Would you
definitely
recommend
helps.
this internship to colleagues?
I would. I absolutely would. And I know that for our program at Northeastern, we have a couple different groups that are kind of situated in various places, some of which are actually seated in schools, which I have no idea what that would be like. I can only imagine, because my background was actually formally in education as well. But from a healthcare standpoint, I feel that this was much more practical and much more relevant, and in a way that is just applicable, especially within the realm of nursing as we grow into more mature, well-seasoned nurses.
And I just have a question for our director. Can we, as a Board of Health, send a letter to Northeastern University and acknowledge Matt for what he's done and how much we enjoyed having him, as well as a wish and a hope that Northeastern will continue to send students as good as he.
And Julia.
And Juliana as well.
And Juliana as well, who I haven't met.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate you
And
guys.
would you please copy Matt and Juliana?
I have a comment. I want to thank you for your willingness to participate in the flu clinic and to give up a precious Saturday in the academic life to lend a hand and to help the citizens of Burlington get appropriately vaccinated. So thank you very much to both of you.
The pleasure's all mine. Ours. I can speak for Julia on
Thank
that,
you.
so thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Picture with the board?
Let's do it.
We'll take this recess.
Can we do a selfie?
Might have to go around.
I'm going this way.
We're gonna have to go that. Yeah, we can do that. I can do that right now. Let me unplug this now.
This is a risk for
a
fall.
health
This is restricted right
Yeah,
now.
right. You were restricted.
Absolute risk for fall.
No, they have a place.
Can't even get on a car, didn't even get on a laptop.
I believe we're still live. I can't get this.
That's one of those workbooks.
No, that is our
Yeah, that's
Board of
ours.
Health.
It's a work.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We'll figure it out.
We look good. So anybody else?
Thank you. Will you get down with him like this? Susan, we should have you here, no?
Got it.
Thank you. And I also already said other students, this is just the first time student versus.
Yes, correct.
So you destroyed the one working projector?
That came from the computer. Look at the bottom.
I know, but I just went to
In your
Mass
knee?
General for a second opinion.
Need surgery?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, I can't, so I might, I went for a second opinion on Friday.
What'd you do?
Your knee?
Are we all set?
I just love pictures for the board.
Staff reports, environmental engineer, do we have any?
Bye,
Please.
good luck,
Bye,
goodbye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Please.
There are a couple of highlights for you. Happy to let you know, I think, that we've had our first hard frost early Saturday morning, dipped below 28 degrees for the right amount of time, so the mosquitoes are gone for the season.
Yes.
One other highlight, I put a picture in my report of our new universal waste shed.
Oh, I wondered what that
That
was.
was, yes.
Isn't that a beautiful looking new shed?
An arbitrary shed.
So we've had one for many years, I think maybe about almost 20. The old shed, and it was, so we use it to collect bulbs and other mercury-containing products and store them in between household hazardous waste events. And, we provide that as a service for the community, and our old shed was in pretty rough shape. So I applied for a grant to get a new shed, and we got a $4,300 grant and a brand-new shed.
Where is this?
It's where the old shed was.
Which was Oh, thanks. Throw me under the bus.
It is, outside of our office,
Oh, at the other end of the building.
Come take a look at
Oh,
it.
I knew where that was. I
yeah.
just didn't know
So
what it
it's at
was.
our end of the building, south end of the building at 61 Center Street.
Very
It
good.
looks a lot-
Who built it?
Well,
Did it come already?
it came in
prefab?
pieces, and they
Yeah.
put it together on site.
Yeah, wow,
Like 4, 5, 6 large pieces.
yeah,
Wow.
fantastic.
It's a very nice looking building.
Thank you, and,
Make a nice chicken coop, too.
no, it's way too nice for chicken. No, I'm just
You need a permit.
I would just like to thank Susan for her assistance with it, and also the DPW, who helped to remove the old shed and clear the space for the site prep for the new shed,
Thank you.
so.
Great.
Any questions?
I just have one, Christine,
Yeah.
could you just give a little bit more information on the investigation? The 207 came,
Yeah, that's just the continuing
that's just the
investigation.
continue, okay, I didn't know if it was
No,
something in
nothing
addition.
new. I just go every so often to make sure we're not having issues. In fact,
Okay.
thank you for bringing that up. I just got an update today from the property manager. The application was submitted to Mass DOT. They provided comments back today, and they will be submitting a secondary application any day now. So they're towards the end of the process with Mass DOT. So hopefully they'll be implementing what you heard at the last meeting.
Yeah, just hopefully it'll be before
I know.
This-
any
Yeah.
hard
Before we
freeze
need it.
comes, right, yeah.
Yeah, I was out there last week. The groundwater's still fairly low, so I don't think we'll see, unless we have some serious rains, I don't think we'll see anything in the too near future at that site. Any other
Any other
questions?
questions? I have one.
Sure.
You discussed the design of a vapor barrier with our building inspector. We have a lot of vapor barriers coming, and he's very good. what was the discussion around?
Well, he had a secondary report from one of his inspectors, because they were out there to do a foundation inspection on what, the new building, which is in the location of the former Sears Tire and Battery Center. And they had, the inspector had reported that they had punctured the vapor barrier. But it turns out that it was the actual moisture barrier that they punctured. The actual environmental vapor intrusion barrier is about 6 feet below grade. So
Okay.
it's safe and it wasn't harmed. But it was just a confirmation. He wanted to have me double check the design to make sure that they punctured the one we don't really care about.
Well, thank him, that
Yeah.
was excellent.
It was excellent. It was-
Excellent, thank you, Andy, it was
Yeah.
excellent.
Good catch.
Good catch. Did they have to change the moisture barrier?
Yeah, they had to reseal it.
Beautiful, thank you. If there are no other questions?
Make a motion to approve the environmental agent report?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Supervisory nurse.
Good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry. Marlene?
I was on that one.
Marlene, I'm sorry, health agent.
Good evening. I wanted to inform the board that we had a tobacco compliance check, and that was in September. All 24 retailers passed. Nobody sold.
Thank
lot of
you.
work went into that,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And as you know, the vaping product ban is still in effect. That went into effect at the end of September, and it's supposed to run until the end of January. Stay tuned in the news, but right now, it's still, the ban is still in effect. We are in the process in our office to renew tobacco product sales permits, so those were all sent out. We're receiving some of those back in. And I conducted 2 temporary food inspections. One was on Sunday, October 27th with Susan. It was the New England Gluten-Free Expo at the Marriott. So the majority of the foods that were there were for sampling purposes, and most were non-temperature controlled for safety foods. But we were there to do the inspections. And the other temporary food inspection was on Monday, October 28th. Samantha and I did the taste event that was also at the Marriott, and that's where various restaurants, they come in, they donate their food for sampling for that event. About 24, 25 area restaurants were there for that. And I've been busy with new food service establishments. There's 2 new kiosks that opened in the Burlington Mall. Macy's has a Starbucks kiosk, and Cafe Nero at that new building that used to be the Sears Automotive, and Harbor Suites, and there's more coming, so,
I see.
the next couple of months.
I see 4 here, 4 more different institutions.
Yes.
Including Leahy Medical Weight Loss.
Yes,
Gayu Kaku, Joy Barbecue, and Viet Citron.
yes.
They're all brand new.
Well, Joy Barbecue is not brand new. They actually had some equipment changes. They changed their menu and brought in some new equipment, but the others that you mentioned are all new, yes.
Thank you very much.
What's the status of the bagel place on Cambridge Street? Will it be opening soon?
On Cambridge, oh, yeah.
Bagel bar, I think it's called.
Bagel bar.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, we have people apply, and it's up to them how long they want to take, and some folks take a very long time to get the construction finished and get underway, so, but yes, we're still waiting for them.
So, and Shake Shack and Karma are still online to?
They are under construction.
There is a plethora of places to eat in Burlington. Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the, what am I approving?
Health agent.
Health agent,
And I'll second.
staff report, from the health agent.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Now the supervisory nurse. Caught you off guard.
Good evening. Just a few things that we've completed the Matter of Balance course, which was very successful. I guess the participants were very happy and were grateful that they've learned a lot, and it was quite a really good experience. We had a couple of speakers, so that was great. It ended on October 29th, and we'll be hopefully doing another class in the spring. The pediatric flu clinics, we've had a few of them, if not the high-dose ones as well. So those have been completed. We did some training. I believe we had 2 more pediatric dispensers, I think, at the clinic from that class. And so we've done a lot of pediatric flu clinics. We've done the flu clinic on that Saturday, October 26th, which was Susan will probably talk about that. And then we've done a walk-in clinic for employees, and we've done some town employee flu clinics as well. And right now, we're in the process of doing the clinics for the employees for schools. So we just finished Burlington High School today, their staff. We have Marshall Simons Middle School coming up, and then we have Fox Hill as well. And we're still continuing doing Stopping the Bleed. I have 3 trainings scheduled in December, so if anybody wants to sign up for those classes. We'll be offering 3 classes in December for that. And we have 1 tomorrow, I believe.
Right,
Yeah, 1 tomorrow, yeah.
Questions?
10 o'clock.
Please, go.
Susan, excuse me, Christine. You go by Chris, I figure.
That's all right.
I call you either both. The training for the schools, is that in the classroom or is that with the health? Was that
The training for the schools?
it says that your presentation, this one says to the 8th grade health class for.
Oh, we've been trying to schedule that to get that done. That's probably not gonna be until the spring now because of the flu clinics that have come up
Okay.
and Stop the Bleed classes, so,
That's
I
for
had
the
to send
students,
it-
so not the.
yeah,
Okay.
that was my email to Susan Fay, who actually is
Yep, I
the
saw that.
educator for
Okay.
that. So we've been going back and forth, but it just seems like every time has been a flu clinic or some other class, but we're gonna
What was
try to
the
get that.
content? What was like the agenda for that training for those students?
Just to basically talk about public health and public health nursing and what we do.
Okay.
Public
I'm just
health.
curious.
I did it last year, so I went to several different.
I thought so.
I
but-
talked about public health in general,
In
what
general,
public health
okay.
is. And so, I had Chris work with Susan Fay there to try to schedule.
I think it's great.
Talking
I
about
was
public
just-
health nursing this year.
Okay,
Yeah. But hopefully, we'll be able to schedule some time in the spring for that.
great.
How are we doing on the flu vaccine stock?
Good, it's starting to deplete. We did about 38 doses today at one of the schools, so hopefully we get rid of them. Actually, I had a walk-in clinic on the 29th that went really well and ended up, we had 6 signed up and then we had 30, I believe, that showed
Excellent.
up for that. So it's time, I think we have one tomorrow too, from 4 to 5.
What about the vaccine for children? Do we still have some of that?
Yes, we do. We had 3 families a couple weeks ago. So they're coming, it's like feast or famine. So whenever the high school or the schools call us and they need us to, I actually went to the high school to administer some of those vaccines to children that don't have transportation to us.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Great.
Great.
Any other questions?
Are you gonna talk about the flu clinic? or-
Yes.
Okay, I'll wait then.
I have a couple. The first is, it's early in the flu season, and it's still important, if you haven't got your flu shot, to please get your flu shot. There was a physician in the Boston Herald yesterday who reported more than 70,000 seasonal flu deaths last year. I had not seen that, and I was wondering, since I had an opportunity, had you seen that?
I just read something today, it was like a blurb of something, a report that said 79,000 people died from the flu last
Yeah,
year.
that sounds right.
Does that sound about right? Because I think that's what I saw. And I haven't really got a chance to read the whole article yet, but I can tell you that in Burlington, as of today, we've had 3 confirmed influenza. So we're kind of, it's starting now. I did attach the weekly flu report for the state of Massachusetts. So if you look, it's really not, hasn't hit us yet, but it's here. So I advise people to start, if they have not received their flu shot, to please call the health department or your provider and have it done soon as possible.
Very
Like
few
I said.
people understand how dangerous the flu can be. So please get your flu shot. 79,000 people from the seasonal flu is a lot of people. And please come and protect yourself and protect your family.
Dr. Weiner, the Washington Post reports that influenza killed 80,000 people in the 2017 and 2018 season. According to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the previous high for a regular flu season, based on analyses dating back more than 3 decades, was 56,000 deaths.
So,
Most of those are children, and, the elderly population are really at high risk, so.
But that's a 30,000 increase.
any other questions? If not, I have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. 5-0. And Director of Public Health, we all have questions.
So I provided the data on the flu clinic from 2016 to 2019. So if you take a look at it, we gave 492 shots of vaccines this year at our flu clinic. Last year, we had more, 527. But if you look at the 2 previous years, 2016 and 2017, it was less, so 466 and 467. So we did a little bit more this year than we did in 2016 and 2017, a little bit less than last year. If you look at the demographics of the age groups here, which I broke it down into, you can see that we did about the same amount of 6 months to 18-year-olds this year as we did last year. And it seems to be increasing from 2016 to 2019. So we're seeing more children, and we saw about the same as we did last year. It seemed to flow a lot more nicely with the children this year than it did last year.
Did.
And I think that was because we had a vaccine dispenser for children in every line. We also had 4 lines this year as opposed to 3 lines last year. If you look at the 65 years and plus, you can see that that number seems to be going down from 2016 to 2019. I guess maybe we could attribute that to the fact that we're providing the high-dose vaccine before the clinic, so more people are coming to that rather than going to the actual clinic. At the end of this season, I'll look at all the data that we have to see how much vaccine we've given out in the office and at the schools and et cetera, so that we can compare that from year to year. So this is the most accurate way I can get the data by taking it off MIIS. So this is very accurate.
Yeah, that's great. This is wonderful data. Mr. Chair, if I can just make a brief comment. So I remember back, I think it was 2016 or earlier, I had commented on the 19 to 29-year-old population and how there's a paucity of folks in that age range coming in. I would urge you, if you are late teenage to 20s-year-old, or I'm speaking to family members as well, flu affects you as well. So I would definitely suggest that any age, echoing Dr. Weiner, get the flu vaccination, please. That's it.
So I also provided the survey that we sent out to all the volunteers as well as staff that were there and any of our partners. I'm going to take that information and be putting it into an after-action report that I'll have most likely for our next meeting to try and find areas where we can improve. I think there are some areas, there's always areas for improvement. But things that did work well this year, I think it was the flow definitely worked better. I think
was great.
Flow was
switching it
wonderful.
worked a lot better.
Right.
Flow was great. Noise was well controlled in the auditorium.
Yeah.
It was great. Medical triage, fantastic.
It's a bottleneck.
A couple of, no other comments? I did speak to Chief Patterson and thanked him for sending 2 EMTs. They were both very good, very good, outstanding. We had a couple of incidents, and they were right on it, along with our, we had two
EMTs?
we had two EMTs.
Yeah, one of them was, actually, he volunteered to be a dispenser.
Dispenser on top of that.
He was Mark Saya.
Lieutenant
Yeah.
Saya.
Yeah, so he was,
But
he did both.
He kind of,
I
when
saw
there
it.
was help
Yeah,
needed.
I saw it.
He went.
He did when we had the second, and luckily also, we have a physician as a member of our Board of Health.
Wonderful medical triage.
Also, in terms of the survey, at least the preliminary results, we had 11 categories of questions, and there were only 10 disagree or highly disagree, only 10 responses. So most were very, most were strongly agree. For instance, I felt prepared before I arrived to the assignments, and it goes on and on and on. So we had excellent turnout, and excellent response, and a very low percentage of people who did not agree or had criticisms. Some of them, I'm sure, are good, and we need to take them into account, but it looks like it was a terrific success. Thank you.
And would it be fair, Director, just for the folks to know that all comments have been reviewed?
Yes, which is what I'll do in the after-action report.
Right.
When I put that together, I take all the comments and then I categorize them. And then I pick from that, like, if it was commented usually more than once, or if I think it's an area that really needs looking at, I'll pick those out of there and then develop action items that we can do for next year to kind of improve, so.
Great.
Excellent. If there are no other questions, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We have nothing else on the agenda. Okay, there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. 5-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Saltzman?
I will echo your wonderful comments, Dr. Weiner, to our community. The flu season is, right about now. So, please, if you are ill, try to quarantine yourself as best possible. Use your best judgment on when to contact a physician and, or another medical provider. And please, wash your hands. Wash your hands.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Adjourned at 8 PM.